As young people, we are not just victims of the climate crisis. We are in the front lines. Our communities are grappling with recurrent droughts, flood, food insecurity, the loss of biodiversity, and these challenges deepen inequality and undermine the nation's resilience. We understand that climate action is just not about policy. It's about our livelihoods, our health, and our future. We need a decentralized youth-aligned financing mechanism such as county climate innovation funds, and we are ready to be held accountable. We demand transparency and a simplified process for accessing climate finance with guidelines translated into Kiswahili and local dialects. As the backbone of our economy, agriculture must be transformed. We demand for meaningful youth leadership in policy processes and equitable access to land, resources, and finance for agri-smart agriculture. We call for greater investment in skills, research, and innovation to build resilient food systems. First one is adaptation and climate resilience. We demand that adaptation finance reaches the most vulnerable communities with transparent and equitable systems. We call for urgent operationalization of loss and damage funds, and we must integrate the indigenous knowledge in our climate information systems to make them more relevant and accessible. On youth capacity, inclusion, and representation, we are not passive beneficiaries. We are co-creators. We demand to be institutionalized within climate governance structures at all levels. We need investments in long-term capacity building and mentorship programs that empower us with skills needed to lead. Our call to action is urgent and directed to all stakeholders. To our county and national governments, we ask you to institutionalize youth inclusion in governance and allocate adequate funding for our climate actions. To the private sector, we urge you to forge equitable green partnerships that create jobs and support sustainable livelihoods. To the multilateral funding institutions, we demand scaled-up climate financing aligned with a just transition. And to the research institutions and academia, we ask that you co-create knowledge with us and amplify our voices in our communities. As we advance to COP20 and COP30 in Brazil, our voices, solutions, and demand must and will resonate locally, nationally, regionally, and globally. Thank you.
In terms of financing is really a challenge when it comes to climate resilience, and withdrawal of climate funding by development partners, specifically other countries, has been really a challenge. We've had a lot of budget cuts in climate projects. So we are, as we have stated in our statement, we are urging developed countries to take responsibility of their action and operationalize the loss and damage funding to the developing countries, including our country, Kenya. In terms of carbon markets and carbon credits, one of the challenges that we majorly have, especially among youth, is capacity. Most youths don't even know what carbon credits are or the modalities that around carbon markets and credits, how they work. So the first thing is the capacity, the knowledge, how these youth define or know how the carbon markets and credits operationalize. So that is a starting point where we can start in our local communities, enhancing the capacity of young people to know what carbon markets are and carbon credits are. So whether they accept the modalities that come with other developing partners or whoever is introducing these things to the communities, they will act from a point of knowing what these things are or what carbon markets and carbon credits are.
And coming from a region whereby human-wildlife conflict is on the rise, whereby over 1.4 million acreage of land in Taita Taveta, which is under conservation, is greatly affected by the climate change whenever there is hazards and disasters such as drought. The wildlife competes for resources with the community, and hence endangering life and many other disasters ahead. So we are calling upon the contributors to put in their voice, their resources in ending these climate change issues.
It's not an ox, it is a reality. It is scientifically proven, especially for the indigenous communities. It is really affecting us. For the longest time, indigenous communities has been living with nature peacefully, but apparently it is a real crisis. So I think it is not a way to go, and we urge all the global leaders of Africa to reject whatever Trump says. Indigenous youth are really play a critical role in terms of climate change and indigenous knowledge. It is important to include them, not only include them, but to be part of the conversation. For most times, we are always excluded in decision-making tables, and it is important that indigenous youth should be included in decision-making spaces. Also, Road to COP30, we've learned a lot about ELCO 2025, and Road to COP30 is that indigenous youth should be represented, should be part of the table making decisions, and also they should be part of policy making.
What do you want? Climate justice. When you want it? Right now. When you want it? Right now. Oh
so that they can help us. When we are United Africa, definitely we can help in combating that climate change. And the thing to do with the talk statement that we want to transfer. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time. Development partners, specifically other countries, has been really a challenge. We've had a lot of budget cuts in climate projects. So the Kenyan youth reaches the COPs, or the Conference of Parties, through the national position paper that is developed every year. So this is what carbon markets and carbon credits are.
The challenges you're facing,
One of the challenges that we are facing, so whether they accept the modalities that come with other developing partners, or whoever is introducing these things to the communities,
Get their equality rights to ensure that it compensates for the loss and damage that has been created out of the climate change. And having attended the pre-ELCO in the Jumuiya counties of Pwani, here we have assembled to put our voices, and coming from a region whereby human and
to bring in their statements of what they would want to see in matters climate resilience.
Not only include them, but to be part of the conversation. For most times, we are always excluded in decision-making tables, and it is important that indigenous